guys, this is Eli, Social Media Director for GotBaseballCards.com. I'm here with our owner, Joe Davis. We're going to learn about the history of J&J Sports and how it got its name. So Joe, you've been in this industry for a long time. How'd you get your start?
Well, I started like most collectors and just as a kid. You know, I was 8 years old, bought my first pack of 1976, my mom bought my first pack of 1976 baseball. I wasn't exactly carrying on any money then, but I remember it was so exciting. Not just the gum. I loved opening and seeing the cards, and I was a huge baseball fan, and it really took off for me as a passion and as a hobby. Throughout the late 70s, my mom again bought cards. I traded with my friends in the neighborhood, and we would each summer we'd sit around each other's living room and trade cards, and I would buy pages and put them in the pages in the notebooks. And I'd put all my favorite player cards together, and then I would say, no, let's sort them just by team, and then I'd say, no, let's put them in numerical order, and by then the cards were pretty worn out because they'd been in and out of the pages so many times, but it was a lot of fun. And so I continued to collect throughout the late 70s, early 80s, and then by the late 80s, really 1987, I was preparing to go to college, and by then I was attending card shows as a customer, and I was buying in such volume, I decided I would start setting up at shows as an exhibitor. I remember the first show I set up at with a dear lifelong friend, Russell Head. We set up at a show in Atlanta, and I think we paid $200 for the weekend to set up, and I think our total sales were about $250 for the weekend. So that was a valuable learning experience that I didn't really have enough inventory to compete with the big boys at the time. But continued to set up at shows, traveled throughout the Southeast, many states, setting up at shows and attending shows, and then actually promoted my first one in 1988 right here in Snellville, Georgia, where our retail store is now. We called it Collector's Show 88, I remember, and we had about 20 dealers, several hundred people in attendance. And then I continued to promote shows in both Snellville and Rome, Georgia through the late 80s and early 90s. And then in 1991, got the opportunity to open a retail store, which was our first store in Avondale Estates, Georgia. Opened with a good friend, Jeff Porter, and we actually bought the business from someone who already had a shop there, Mr. Roger Pavey, and the business was called The Sports Section. So honestly, we couldn't afford a new sign, and so we said, we'll just get it repainted, and so we called it J&J Sports Section. And so over time that turned into, when we opened our new retail store in Snellville, it became J&J Sports Superstore because it was such a large store compared to what we had, and we were able to offer so many more items like we do here. And over time, of course, we know about our website now, GotBaseballCards.com, and so for years we've been known as J&J Sports, but our website is GotBaseballCards.com. So when I look back on the late 90s and the development of the business, I actually bought Jeff out in 1995, and I began to turn the focus of the business more to mail order. And back then there was no internet for us to advertise on, but we ran ads in Sports Collectors Digest. We offered team sets, and we really went after team collectors, and we developed a mailing list and a phone list. I remember I had a list of customers I'd call up and say, hey, we had one customer who loved Minnesota Twins, and I'd be like, hey, we got a new Chuck Knobloch, parallel insert for you. It's $4 or whatever. And so that developed, and then of course I started having friends tell me about eBay, and then in 1998 we started selling on eBay, and now we have almost 100,000 feedback on eBay, and over half a million items on eBay every day that we offer to customers. So our online business really took off once we started selling on eBay, and then we added the Beckett.com marketplace store in 2003, and we've continued to add other portals, other sites that we can sell on over the years. What other questions you got for me?
Well, I know you've been in the industry for a long time. You're a collector yourself.
Right.
What would you say one of your favorite cards is?
I can tell you my favorite card in the hobby is the 1971 Topps Thurman Munson. To me, it just has everything going for it. Eye appeal, it's a classic pose of a classic individual. It's got the little Topps rookie card logo on it. It's a horizontal shot. You can see the dirt and everything. It's the epitome to me of what a great baseball card looks like. I would still love to own a high grade one, but there's many collectors out there chasing that card in high grade, and with it being a black bordered card, it's very tough.
Right.
Talking about high grade, that's another aspect another element we added to the business in the late 90s. That was becoming a PSA authorized dealer, which was huge for us because we very much believe in the servant model of offering services to our customers, not just products. And in 1998, the graded card industry was taking off, so we started offering graded card submissions to our customers where they could bring the cards in, send them off. We would handle all the paperwork and help recommend what they should get graded. And I remember the market was so strong back then, or at least I thought it was strong then. Certain parts are much stronger today. I remember when I was truly sold on the graded card industry was in 2000 at the Anaheim National Convention. I had bought a vending card box of 1980 Topps baseball and had a Rickey Henderson rookie, and it got graded a 10, PSA 10, which at the time was only the second one in the industry graded. And I put it out in the showcase and sold it the very next day for $8,500.
Wow.
And I paid $100 for the vending box. So I said to myself, this graded stuff works.
It works.
It works. And so that was I remember taking all the employees to Disney. So that was that's a rarity too. But been very sold. I'm a very big believer in both grading and authentication in our industry. It's a huge need. So we support both PSA and BGS, and we send in a large volume of cards both for ourselves and for customers every month. What else would you like to know today?
I know you watch all different sports, correct?
Yes.
All the different major sports. Who would you say your favorite player is in the game right now?
Well, more than anything, I'm a huge basketball fan, and by far, I would say my two. I've always been a LeBron fan, but as far as the young guys, I'm a huge follower of Ben Simmons. I think he is a generational talent. He's still in his rookie season, and he's averaging. I think he's averaging 17 points and roughly 7 or 8 assists and rebounds. You'd rarely see that combination, and he's pretty much indefensible in the lane as a 6'10" point guard, and he's got one of the best defensive line of statistics in the league as well, because most guards have a tough time dealing with a guy who's 6'10" defending them. So I have bought up a large quantity of his rookie cards and his rookie products, and I'm really enjoying watching him develop as a player. I'm also very excited about Donovan Mitchell. He reminds me a lot of Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook. He's a good outside shooter, but he's also a very, very good talent in the lane. And of course, coming out after his sophomore year, I think he's got a lot of development still in front of him, but he's been a very exciting player. I think the two of them will go neck and neck to the wire for Rookie of the Year this year. So.
And last question here, the major market for sports cards is obviously adults.
Right.
So what would you recommend kids do to get into the industry?
Well, thankfully our industry offers a lot of, not a lot of affordable products, but there are a handful, like your Topps opening day, and that's one we recommend to customers a lot. Upper Deck does like the MVP hockey, which is an affordable brand. There's Donruss football, which is a reasonable price point for football collectors. And then in basketball, there's like the Status basketball and Hoops basketball, some affordable brands for kids. So I think we as retailers need to go out of our way to get kids involved. Reward them for good grades, reward them, just for coming in your store. We give away free packs for kids coming to the store because we don't see enough of them. Yeah. And so we want to see young collectors. We're actually working on a brand new site that'll be premiering soon called collectagain.net. And part of our vision for that site is to see one generation pass on their love of collecting to the next. And it's a vision of mine to help collectors locate retail card stores all over the country and store owners have to do a good job with those kids. They need to promote it and educate them. I think education is very important because it can be overwhelming. You walk in a store like ours and there's 200 or 300 different boxes on the wall. You don't know where to turn, and so our job as industry leaders is to educate kids and educate adults on what to buy, make solid recommendations, and to inspire them, encourage them, and we always tell kids, don't buy for investment. Buy what's fun. Buy what you're going to enjoy. I've seen the biggest mistakes I've made over the years in the hobby is when I bought simply for investment's sake. I still remember certain rookies I bought up in the late 80s. I'm like, oh, I'm sure he's going to be a great investment. Yeah. And I probably still have them somewhere in the store 20 plus, nearly 30 years later now. And it's always encourage kids, buy what you enjoy. Because if kids are just turned off too early, they're not going to stay with the hobby. So we try to teach them to have fun, first of all. Then their love and passion for the hobby will develop as time goes on. So.
All right, guys. Well, that was Joe Davis. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.